you have the Shark Tank music playing in the background, you enter and
तुम्हारे साथ बहुत interesting story हुई थी.
segment है जहाँ पे वो ठक ठक की आवाज स्टार्ट होती है. When that played, so जो विनीता का ग्लास है, कॉफी का कप था, that actually fell down and it broke. वहाँ पे देखते ही पता नहीं instant दिमाग में आया, मैंने बोल दिया पीतल का ग्लास होता तो नहीं टूटता. And the first thing that Aman told us right when we entered the tank was the fact that तुम लोगों ने एक हफ्ते पहले पैसे उठाए ना, मैंने तुम्हें न्यूज़ में देखा है.
Would love to know a little bit, about the P-TAL journey.
If you want to buy brass or copper utensils, we are the Milton or Hawkins of it. India as a market is around 30 to 40,000 crores. Of that as well, around 80% is unorganized.
Just curious, what would artisans make being associated with P-TAL?
3 of our artisans earned 1 lakh rupees last month from us. There are just two kinds of brands, right? Either brands that die within 5 years or consumer brands that live for more than 20 years.
Who's your favorite angel investor?
When you mentioned some of the top investors in the country, that meant you.
जब भी तुम advice मांगते हो तो funding मिल जाती है और जब भी funding मांगते हो तो advice मिलता है. Favorite homegrown brand from India?
Apart from P-TAL.
Apart from P-TAL. Building a large business while reviving a cultural legacy and providing social impact. Raising funding from some of India's top investors, getting an all-shark deal at Shark Tank, and all of this while just being 23 years old. Super excited to welcome to the Founder Academy, Aditya Agrawal, co-founder and chief Bartanwala of P-TAL. Aditya, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Karan, for having me. It's a pleasure.
Great. So before we begin, full disclosure, I'm also an investor in P-TAL. And while I've been a huge fan of the team and the business from day one, I also feel that P-TAL is a great learning story for a lot of young brands and founders. So again, super excited, to host you at the podcast.
And when you mentioned some of the top investors in the country, that meant you.
Yeah, I think you're just being very kind. You actually have the best D2C founders, best angels, best funds, and now the sharks as well. So, but you're very kind. So, would love to know a little bit, about the P-TAL journey. How did it start? Where did it start? How did the idea come into being? Just take us through that initial phase.
Right. So, Karan, P-TAL did not actually start as a business or a brand. P-TAL started as a college project, right? Even the name.
This was in Actors.
Yes. Yeah. So even the name P-TAL stands for Punjabi Thathera Art Legacy, right? And Thatheras are the group of artisans. So when we started this in college in SRCC, this was back in 2018, right? That's when even I was in my first year of college.
Interesting.
We came across this community of artisans who were from Amritsar. And we found out that they were practicing India's only UNESCO listed craft form, but their craft form was dying, mainly because, they were making traditional utensils which did not fit the modern market, right? They were building big bhandas, big bartans which were used in gurudwaras, but not our modern households, right?
Kitne artisans the?
See, roughly what we had heard, initially there were 500 artisans, but because the craft was declining, the number came down from 500 to just 30.
My God.
So it was a massive drop, and that's why UNESCO was actually thinking of delisting this craft form from its list of intangible cultural heritage. Because it thought that if the craft doesn't have a future, what is the point of having its recognition in a very prestigious list, right? So we came across that, and it was a very staggering fact for us. When we went to Jandiala Guru for the first time, we saw that these artisans were being paid 20 rupees for a P-TAL ki parat of this size.
My God.
Right. So
that's so sad, yeah.
Yeah, it was a beautiful craft, right? We could see the potential. And we could see that this is a craft that needs recognition. It needs to come out, and we could see that potential in it. So that time we started working on new designs.
As a social kind of a cause only at that time.
It was a social cause. Our idea was that these artisans that time were earning around 2,000 rupees per month, right? And these were artisans above the age of 50, 60 as well. So they did not have the motivation, or they did not have the energy to go out themselves, fight for the world, or come out of that traditional shell and make new designs, right? That is when we only thought कि यार अगर हम 2,000 rupees से if we can still make their income to let's say 5,000 rupees or 6,000 rupees, that's
so you have a massive impact on those lives of those 30 families.
Correct. So that was the only goal, and hence it started with that social cause. To be honest, we were not aware of all of the health benefits or how it was impacting our consumers as well. We were just worried as to how we can improve the life of these artisans. we can provide them hearing aids, gloves, make their workspaces better, take them to exhibitions. So I still remember we used to go to exhibitions with these artisans, and if we had sales of 10,000 rupees also, we used to get so happy, and we used to call them instantly. Ki Manohar Lal ji 10,000 ki sale ho gayi.
My God.
So they used to get happy. Right. So that was just our thing, right? That it started with that cause. And eventually, when COVID came, that was a turning point for us. Because I still remember when the lockdown was announced, I got on a call with Kirti, who is my co-founder, and we were like, Kiya, ya to this business will completely shut down, or we can do something about this, right? And it was still a college project at that time. That is when we decided, right, that we need to
move it from a social cause to actually a proper business.
Because, Karan, to be honest, any social cause, right, the most important impact that you can make is the economic impact, right? After a while, the artisans won't care if you're giving them health insurance or hearing aids, etc. Those things are supplementary, right? For them, the primary thing is that if आपने उनकी income बढ़ा दी from 2,000 rupees to 5,000 or 10,000, that is the tangible thing that they perceive, and that is eventually how you can build, like, scale the impact also, right? So that is when we thought, let's do something, right? Let's invest in it. Hence, COVID became a blessing in disguise for us, because that was the time when we changed the outlook, that from exhibitions, we went to online, we built our website, right? We started telling stories on social media. We connected the two C's, consumers with communities of artisans, right? And we are glad that it was taken very heartily by the consumers as well, right? They could relate with the story of artisans. They needed the maximum impact, right? They did not have all those resources. They were old artisans, right? So that came as a change for us. We started selling online. People started getting more conscious and aware of their health, right? About immunity. They started drinking water in copper. And hence, that
I discovered P-TAL because of that. Like, I remember December 22, like when I ordered that copper ka utensil, which you can actually add water and you can just drink it throughout the day. And and we still have it, right? And then like I have 2 young kids, so unke liye like wo thali, right? So like we discovered it because of those health benefits, and obviously because of the amazing content and all you guys were doing as well.
Thank you. I'm so glad that, and I remember in fact even in our first conversation, when you mentioned about it, I became very happy at that time, because at this stage, whenever we hear something like this, it's very heartwarming.
Correct.
So going back to the COVID times, that is when we decided that now is the time we bring it outside from a college project, right? Because to be honest, as long as it remains a college project, the scale is always limited, right? So that is when we, I just told at my home that, I want to do this. I was still
How old were you at that time?
I think I was 20.
My God, and I don't remember my 20 mein kya kar raha tha, but I was not launching such a big company like P-TAL for sure.
And I'm glad that, my parents were supportive that time. I just told them ki, give me 2-3 years. If it doesn't work out, I am still an SRCC graduate. कुछ पढ़ाई की है, कुछ तो किया.
कुछ तो कर ही लेंगे.
कुछ तो मिल जाएगा, right? Like the job, let's say, that I was getting then, I can get it later as well. So I got a PPO from the college as well, right? But then I did not sit for placements. I was very much focused into this. I liked doing this. So I think just out of like in the middle of COVID, I shifted to Chandigarh. So I was in Odisha back then. I shifted to Chandigarh, and I did not have a place to live as well that time, right? So Kirti helped me with a guest house there, right? And while being at the guest house, I started looking for places. So I remember, before shifting as well, there was a lot of excitement and fear. Ki excitement tha kya, this is fun. I get to do something that I like on a daily basis.
Correct.
But I was also scared ki what if it doesn't work out. That time we were doing 1 lakh rupees a month, hardly, right? And
as part of a social cause at that time.
And that was a sale amount, right? Not even the proceeds or the profits.
Correct.
So, and as in my second year was ending, right, in the college. So, then I shifted to Chandigarh. Then all of us decided to put money. Gaurav was also there, our third co-founder. And that's
कितना invest किया था?
So that time initially we invested 10 lakhs each, right? Over time we increased our investment when we set up our store, etc. Right? But we invested 10 lakhs each. We started working out of Kirti's dad's office. उन्होंने हमें एक room दे दिया. हम उस छोटे से room में काम करते थे, सबको फाइल सब कुछ पड़ा रहता था, तो walk करने की भी जगह कम होती थी, right? So we started from there, and then I think there were only 3-4 people working out of there, us 3 and an accountant. That's it.
Nice.
So we used
That's
to
the
manage
first person
that.
you hired apart from the 3 co-founders.
I mean, sort of. Before that, we did have we used to work with freelancers on an off basis. But accounting was something we thought that neither of us had that sort of expertise.
Correct.
And it's something that needs to be done on a regular level. Hence we got someone in.
Yeah.
But I think since then, we decided that, let's go full into it.
Yeah.
We started going deeper, and then we realized that P-TAL as a brand, right? The vision is that we bring back the age-old traditions in a much contemporary manner. This is what the core of what we also did, right? Like the number one thing that we did when we discovered these artisans was we modernized their utensils, right? From, let's say, a big patila, we started making the thali sets, the cocktail glasses, right? Parats. So we tried to do a blend of tradition and trends. Hence our tagline also stands at transforming traditions into trends, right? So that's what P-TAL also stands for, right? Wherein we want people to get back to these age-old traditions, but in a modern manner, and ensure that ultimately they end up taking the right choice rather than the easy choice. And that's how we look at these utensils right now, because over time we realized that it's not just about the artisans who are making the products, but it's also about the consumers who are using them, right? And it's making a big impact. That that is actually helping, and now we say that honestly, when it's about health, right, it's not just about the food we eat, it's also about how we cook and how we consume the food. So I think P-TAL has become much larger than being just a social cause, but making sure that we are making an impact on the lives of consumers as well.
So, नहीं यार, I think एक बहुत interesting concept होता है of cultural distance, right? Which is कि अगर आप किसी चीज़ से जितना ज़्यादा दूर जाते हो ना, उतना आप उस चीज़ को ज़्यादा crave करते हो या want करते हो. Right, so like for example, our legacy, like पुराने ज़माने में बर्तन पीतल के होते थे, like our parents used to have it engraved. 50 साल से पढ़े, 60 साल से पढ़े, and कहीं ना कहीं वो art die हो रही थी, right? So essentially कहीं ना कहीं तो inherent need थी that people were looking at like this being rebranded in a more modern format, more artistic, more quality, also packaged in a health thing as well, right? So I think that kind of played well in your favor, where like modern consumers were looking at products like these, right, which appeal to their sensibilities. So I think that was a very interesting kind of insight. But वैसे अभी what according to you are few reasons why P-TAL has become such a successful brand, right? Like why do people buy P-TAL? Is it because of the health benefits, right? Like drinking water in a copper bottle, like the Ayurveda benefits, या फिर is it because it looks aesthetic, it appeals to the sensibilities, or it's the cultural distance thing कि यार like I want to be connected to my roots and so I want something, या फिर it's just like because like India में like home, kitchen are categories which are now growing, right? Like the middle class is growing, right? Like हमें अगर कुछ भी show off करना है तो हम अपने घर में ही investment कर सकते हैं. So like according to you, like what are some of the reasons why like people are buying P-TAL products and it's becoming such a successful brand?
Sort of you covered everything, but I'll tell you what we have observed, right? Number one, definitely, so there are two kinds of way, right? People look at it both as a need as well as a want.
Interesting.
Right? So those who look at it as a need, they buy it for a purpose that it's going to change their health, right? So the people who look at it as a healthy alternative, nutritious alternative, they buy it from the point of view that they'll use it daily, and they'll switch their existing utensils with the P-TAL utensils, because ऐसा तो होता नहीं that there are no utensils in people's house, right?
Correct.
People always have some utensil at their house. The moment they look to buy is either when they want to change the utensils, or they want to add an additional utensil, or they are just moving into a new house. Right? These are the three use cases when the need arises.
Correct.
So when it's about the need, that happens for those people who look at it from a health POV.
और जो need वाली audience है, वो आज कैसे करी होगी? Like maybe they might be using Teflon या फिर stainless steel के utensils, and like obviously P-TAL is a healthier alternative from that sense.
Yeah, so we try to market on those things as well, right? Like because honestly, Karan, we have always stayed away from making claims, but we do that only after we have done enough research. So very recently, we did a lot of lab tests to check, right? We had around 25 food items with us. We cooked them in Teflon coated non-stick utensils, in aluminium utensils, and in our P-TAL utensils. We actually found out that 90% of the nutrients were swiped away when we cooked in aluminium and steel utensils or Teflon coated non-stick.
Because जैसे वो high temperature पे जाते हैं,
Correct.
like you get
melting
all the
point is the main thing. And the same food items when we cooked in brass and copper, we had close to 93% retention of nutrients. So if I give you an example, we took a bowl of bhindi, right? So 50 grams raw bhindi mein around 2 grams of protein are there, right? When we first cooked it in steel, aluminium or Teflon coated utensils, we had around 0.15 grams of proteins that was left after the cooking process. The same bhindi, when we cooked it in our utensils, we had 1.9 grams of protein that was retained. So technically,
90% was,
correct.
retained, yeah.
So that actually gave us the insight, a lot of people say they help in digestion, they help in XYZ other things. Actually, this is one of the major factors that once they retain those nutrients, more than half of the job is done, right?
Correct.
You are waking up in the morning, you are eating oats, millets or poha or upma and you're thinking you're having a healthy breakfast. But just because you have cooked them in aluminium or Teflon coated utensils, they might not be as healthy as you think they might be, right? So this is the one
So
factor.
there is this one definite switch where people are moving towards conscious, healthy choices.
Absolutely.
And that's one of the reasons which is driving the need-based purchases.
Correct. And in fact, it's not that it's a new realization for people, right? These utensils have stayed with us since long.
Correct.
So a lot of people knew, but why are they buying from P-TAL? It's because the overall market is also super unorganized, right? Like even if you go to the local markets right now, you will find a lot of products in the unorganized sector, where people are selling these utensils in plastic bags. They are not 100% pure utensils.
मतलब वो quality
वो बाहर से कोट कर देते हैं. वो स्टील होगा, बाहर से वो पानी चढ़ा देते हैं, ब्रास या कॉपर का. So that is what they do. Hence people were not buying that because they were
trust issue.
Some people had problems of awareness. Some people had problems of this authenticity in the market, right? Because authentic utensils in either. Hence I think that played a big role because we were trying to become that brand, right? कि if you want to buy brass or copper utensils, we are the Milton or Hawkins of it. कि आप बोलो नहीं यार मेरे को पीतल ब्रांड का ही दो. तो for one category who wanted to use it.
नाम भी ऐसा कि तुमने category own कर ली है.
Maybe can say in that matter we wanted to actually relate it with our social cause, but at the same time we wanted it to make a name which people can relate with, right? Like पीतल यानी पीतल की utensils. We half of the job of us explaining कि हम क्या करते हैं
खत्म ही हो गया, हाँ.
Right. So that happens. But after that, so these are people who use it on a daily basis. Now coming to the people who look at it as a want, right? For them, there are two reasons why they purchase it. One is the fact that, which we also discovered lately, that these utensils also actually add a lot of flavor and taste to your food, right? So just like all of us must have heard ki when you drink chai in a kullad ka bartan, kullad ka mug, so the taste enhances.
Yeah, and just like psychological feeling of having a chai in a kullad also enhances the
And same
taste.
way for biryani, a lot of people come to us and say that when they make biryani in a brass pot, the taste enhances to another level because they have made the same in their own steel or aluminium pots. But they have not got that taste and flavor. So taste factor, it becomes like a want, for which people buy from the POV that, let's say on a weekend, you have guests coming, you have a family dinner, special family dinner, you will take out that bartan, you will make a dish, and you will keep it as a biryani dish, or a chai banane wala bartan in that way. So that comes under a want.
So that's again like a want ki, like it enhances the taste.
Correct.
Almost
It's
like
also
need, right? Like it's, because actually you're improving the quality of the food and the taste as well.
Correct. Some people look at it that way, some people look at it as an experience for them, right? And the third factor is, of course, people who buy it for the looks of it, for the fact that they are able to bring back that nostalgia or heritage, right? But there's also a very tricky thing, right? If you look at it, cookware as a category is not something that you're able to show off, right? It stays inside your kitchen.
Correct.
How many of your guests who come to your house actually get to go to the kitchen?
Correct.
Right? So the looks factor comes actually in the dinnerware that we have, right? And that's why in dinnerware, a lot of people are ready to spend more, right? If you go in the market, you can find 5 pieces dinner set at 1,000 rupees. You can also find 5 pieces dinner set at 20,000 rupees, right? But that is one thing जिससे guests को दिखता है.
तो अभी वैसे क्या product line है? Like, is it only kitchen, dinnerware, like, home also now?
So we deal in 3 metals, right? Brass, copper, and kansa. And the kind of Ayurvedic mantra that we convey is that you should cook in brass, you should drink in copper, and you should eat in kansa, right? So hence we have a cookware range in brass, we have a drinkware range in copper, and we have a dinnerware range in kansa.
Interesting. So people would cook in brass, but they would serve in kansa.
Yes. Like you can still have brass में थाली sets, but and they're also beneficial. But they're also beneficial. But Kansa is technically the best metal. If brass is good, Kansa is the best, right? So Kansa is the best metal because it is also called in some people call it Panch Dhatu, right? And it is also like the difference also is there in the rates in terms of raw materials that we get, right? We sell one brass dinner set at around 2,500. We sell one Kansa dinner set at 7,000 rupees. So that is the difference that is there, right? And
yeah, so and obviously I'm an investor, so like we've had these discussions. But जैसे अगर हम बात करें इंडिया के कुकवेयर मार्केट, ड्रिंकवेयर मार्केट और देन डिनर मार्केट, राइट? सो एसेंशली what will be the size of these markets? और तुम्हें नहीं लगता कि जो आज हमारा प्राइस पॉइंट है ये थोड़ा लिमिटिंग है for it to become mass and then people to eventually transition from Teflon or stainless steel to these products at scale?
Right. So, we have studied the market essentially first from a kitchenware, cookware perspective, right? Because that's also a category which we are playing big on, right? So, if you look at just the kitchenware and cookware market, right? Globally, it's a 2 lakh crores market, right? But the main point is that 80% of the market is still unorganized, right? Let's say if I just get down to India, India as a market is around 30 to 40,000 crores, right? In kitchenware, cookware.
30 to 40,000 crores in kitchen and cookware. Okay.
Yeah, kitchenware, cookware products. And of that as well, around 80% is unorganized, right?
Unorganized means people would just buy it from a local market,
correct,
non-branded.
Local shops, not branded, right?
The 24,000 crore ki non-branded like local market hai.
So even that's why if you look at the organized players, the big players in the market like Prestige, Hawkins, right? Prestige does around 2,500 crores of revenue annually. Hawkins does around 1,000 crores, right? So all of these branded players, they contribute
5,000 crore hi hua.
Correct. They roughly do that, and hence that is how big the market is essentially, where majority part is unorganized. But now, given the fact that people are realizing that we are making food into this, right? So it's not just about the food, but the entire process.
Yeah.
So they are becoming more conscious and switching to more branded players. That's one part, but how we look at the market essentially is not looking at these people as our competitors, right? Because we look at it from a point of view that it's a premium brand, right? You are paying for the heritage, you are paying for the nostalgia, you're paying for the health benefits. If I have to compare the two as well, right? In terms of your investment, right? It's not an expense. You're making an investment. If you look at it as an expense, then it's a pricey thing, right? But steel kadhai, aluminium kadhai.
You're looking at it as an investment which will stay in your family for a long period of time.
It has a resale value plus more importantly that, let's say if you get a steel kadhai at 2,000 rupees and you get a P-TAL kadhai at 4,000 rupees, steel kadhai will serve you for 5 years. We as a brand provide lifetime warranty.
Wow.
Right? So I don't think that all of these other brands in the market can provide lifetime warranty. They write 5 years or 10 years warranty. And I personally think that the moment people write 5 or 10 years warranty, it means that it will break down for sure, right? We are happy to write lifetime warranty because we know that we have seen our grandmothers, our grandparents' utensils lasting for 80-90 years plus. We have
हमारी दादी जी वगैरह के नाम होते थे utensils पे like 50-60 साल तक पुरानी भी.
Correct. That's what. So we have all the more confidence because of the fact that we know that we are ensuring quality is the premium, right? We don't fall short there because otherwise we'll become like the unorganized players in the market. Plus, Karan, we are looking at it more from a global POV, right? That this is not just a market in India, right? India has a right to win in this kind of category, in these kind of brass, copper, Kansa products, right? And we are getting that interest, that love from the foreign markets as well, right? I think we had a customer who came to our store in Delhi some days back, and her first statement was that, can I not travel for 30 hours to get something which was part of India's heritage 30 years ago, right? And them showing the love for these utensils, that P-TAL store was one of the top 10 places that she was planning to visit.
क्या बात कर रहे हो?
When she came to India,
so उसकी itinerary में ये plan था कि मतलब and you have to visit the P-TAL store as an experience, as a cultural experience.
Correct. Because we have also made the store in such a way that it's an experiential store. It's not your regular Bartan ka store. You have been there, so you also know that we tell the story of the artisans. We have the story of the metals. We have the metals hanging there that people can touch.
And almost it's designed like a third place where you can actually spend a lot of time and get immersed in that culture.
Correct. I still use it as my office only, right? Because that is the best place. I get to meet customers, right? I get to take their feedback. I love talking to these customers from outside India because they have such interesting, nice things to say. They understand the craftsmanship, right? They don't complain कि यार यहाँ से इसमें mark क्यों है. They know that it's handcrafted. It will be different.
Correct.
Right?
Every piece is different.
Correct. So we look at P-TAL more so as a global brand, right? And if you look at it, right, all of our past traditions, yoga, Ayurveda, millets, all of this have become super popular in US and the West, right? And people are now again adopting them in India. But in a modern manner again, right? Like for example, millets. Millets, now you will see thousands of recipes with millets, right? That are being made these days. So millets came back but in a modern manner, and hence people could adopt them and it could become so big and so people are going towards it. Even the government announcing last year as the International Year of Millets. So I think these things do count, and hence we look at P-TAL more from a global brand perspective.
So आज क्या scale है business का? Like what's the current, like what would be the revenues today? Like what are some of your margins? Like how many customers have you served? And like what's the split between India and global right now?
So we did around 85 lakhs of net revenue.
Chalo, I'm very happy to hear this because मैंने invest किया था around 30 lakhs था. So like you've grown 3x since then.
I'm so glad that people could show that love for our artisans and our cause. And things are going that way.
So 85 lakh is about net?
Yeah, it's net. Okay. Like after deducting all your discounts, returns, GST, everything.
Nice.
Right? So that is what we are doing on a net level. Of that, around 80% comes from India, 20% comes from the US. If I had to talk about the different channels as well, right, that are working for us, we have around 55% of the sales coming from our own website.
Nice.
Right?
क्या AOV होता है? Like ये around
5,000.
Nice.
5,000 to 5,500.
Nice.
And very recently, we launched some cookware sets, etc., which are increasing our AOV. So this month, actually, we are seeing around 6,000, 6,500 in terms of our average order value. Then we started Amazon 5 months back. And Amazon is now contributing to 20% of our total sales.
Nice.
Right? So Amazon is building up quite well. We are growing almost at around 70-80% month on month on Amazon.
Nice.
So that as a channel is opening up. After that, we have around 10% that comes from the retail store that we have here in Delhi.
Just the one store jo hai.
Just the one store. So that is contributing roughly 8 to 10 lakhs of sales. And the balance 15% comes from gifting, B2B, other organic channels, right, from customers who have purchased from us earlier. So that is what we have.
And like international to India का कितना split था?
80-20, yeah. 80% is India, 20% is international.
Got it.
But yeah, even this 20% international is not with any marketing spends.
Right now. Like
so we are not spending anything on marketing. It's just the pure consumer organic growth we have had on our Instagram, where people are mostly purchasing.
I remember this one story. I think somebody saw some amazing content, which you had put on Instagram, and she placed an order worth 4 lakh rupees. Right, that's correct. Like incredible. Like,
and she placed directly on our website, right?
To get an online order worth that amount,
correct.
Like, for a
because I think in general, especially from people outside India, right, when they are making that purchase, trust is the biggest factor, right? They don't know कि यार सामान भी आएगा कि नहीं. Where am I making the payment, right? And to an Indian website. So to get that level of trust, right? That gave us a big boost, right? That people are correlating with the story, and actually, when we call such customers, you won't hear them saying कि यार we are buying this because it improves our health. Or it looks nice. They say that, we are very inspired by the story. We feel that the amount that we are spending, right, 4 lakhs, is not just for some utensils, but we are actually sort of donating this to some artisans, right? It's going towards some good activities. So they look at it from that view, which is again, very heartwarming.
What's the demographic of the audience?
So most of the people that purchase from us, right, are usually above the age of 35, 40 years of age. Mostly are from tier 1 and tier 2 cities, right? Majority of them, again, are females who have more knowledge about these items. Then there are a lot of yoga practitioners, Ayurveda people who buy from us. And then, we are yet to hence launch some of the products that could appeal to now all ages, especially people between the ages of 20 to 30.
Like maybe like people who've like been in a job for 2-3 years and now like shifting and now setting up their house and all. Something which is like maybe more affordable and maybe which is like more mass appealing as well.
Yeah, and these are some products that, you don't need to be a skilled expert to use it in terms of cookware, etc. Right? Because even our cookware, we give a proper guidebook now.
Yeah.
That has recipes, that has do's and don'ts around using these utensils.
Yeah.
But what we are planning to launch, it's actually going to be one of our most demanded products since day one. But it's going to have that P-TAL flavor in it, so that people buy it even at that price. It's going to be low priced for sure, but it's going to maintain. It's a copper water bottle with a wooden lid.
Nice.
So
amazing.
It's
so like very like everyday use basis.
Correct. So everyday use basis, something that we like. It was, I think, one of the first products that became cool in the brass copper revolution. That was coming back to India. Right? We could see a lot of copper bottles.
But उसमें भी quality issues हैं. You don't know.
बहुत quality issues हैं, right? For example, I'll give you a very basic thing. Pure copper in the market costs around 900 to 950 rupees per kg. When you go in the market, you will still find 1 liter copper bottles being sold at 300 rupees.
So like
copper bottle.
Possibly.
अगर वो 500 grams का भी bottle है, even it doesn't cover the raw material cost. Right?
Correct.
So
that education is very important to the consumer.
A lot of people, when they ask us who are your customers, we also say that we notice some of the customers are those who have been cheated by these fake dupes that are selling in the market and come back to us. And they're like, even if you're charging 2,000, we'll buy that because we know that it's genuine, it's authentic. Right? So that happens a lot.
Got it. Yeah, I would love to understand थोड़ा सा कि D2C तुम लोगों ने कैसे क्रैक किया, right? Like अभी like 85 lakh का सेल है, 55%, so about like roughly about 50 lakh a month, like from D2C, and you have been doing very well even before you were funded and you raised your rounds, right? So एक तो जैसे I understood कि 5,000 का AOV है, which is like from a D2C perspective, at least what I feel is कि अगर 4,000 to 5,000 का AOV हो, 70 to 80% का gross margin हो, then that gives you play to kind of work on customer acquisition, right? So I think from a cost perspective and pricing perspective, you kind of have, and the margins perspective, you are there, right? Second is obviously तुम लोग का content is like mind blowing, like 100K का community है on Instagram, like the content is very wholesome, it's very relatable. You guys shoot with the artisans in the Jhandiala, right? And वहाँ पे actually जाके तुम लोग content बनाते हो, you actually showcase their stories. So tell us like 3-4 things जो from a D2C perspective बहुत work करी है तुम लोगों के लिए, and essentially like founders can also kind of replicate that when they start scaling.
Right. So Karan, as it is D2C, right, that you're selling directly to consumers. For us, it became very important that we connect first of all directly with the consumers, right? So especially in a category like ours, which required a lot of education, right? Because why did people stop using brass and copper utensils? There were mainly two reasons. One was a lot of cheap alternatives were introduced, right, which were available at half the price. Second was the fact that people used to see this as a hassle of maintenance, cleaning, etc. Right? So for us in such a market, right, it became very important for us to educate the consumers that they can make the right choices before the purchase, tell a lot of stories, right? We love storytelling as, as founders. We love our content. We have been very focused on our Instagram strategy since day one, right? And that is why that is something which sets us up for long-term growth and sustenance, right? Because we still have the confidence that, if I had to shut down my paid advertising today, we'll still get healthy sales.
Correct.
Because if you look at our US sales as well, none of them is actually paid. A lot of them come just organically, right? And that still contributes to roughly 10 to 15 lakhs of monthly sales. So, as a brand, the ethos that we have developed, that our aim is that our consumers first become consumers of our content before becoming consumers of our product, right? Because if they become consumers of our content, then they're here for a long game, right? So we love telling stories in that way, and I'm so glad that we have that opportunity, that we have the artisans, we have the health benefits, we have stories about the products that we can communicate, which gives us a lot of flexibility, right? So
that is one thing that I think founders can actually do more, which is relate to your consumer, connect with your consumer, tell more stories about your brand. Maybe as founders, sometimes we are very focused on bottom of the funnel, on performance-based advertising, but according to you, that comes later. First connect होना बहुत ज़रूरी है.
I think that is making that connect actually helps you in your funnels as well, in a way, right? Because I think at this time, there's so many brands and so many ads that you can see in every category, right, on a daily basis. But what you will always remember are those ads or those stories that actually left an impact on you, or that you remember distinctively, right? So I think ads focusing on top of the funnel, bottom of the funnel is something that everyone is doing.
Correct.
What becomes really important is making that separate mark, right? Like even today, I think Karan, if I'll ask you top 5 brands in your mind, all of them will have a content or a storytelling angle or something that they have done differently, right? For which you will remember them. And I think that has eventually helped us cut down our CACs, give us a better result eventually, because we could notice that initially for the longest time, for 2.5 years, we did not have a full-time digital marketing guy. We used to have a freelancer, right? And just because of our storytelling content, I think it made his game easier, his work easier, because we used to have that organic connection. I still remember we did a launch of a roti tawa, and the moment we put that picture in our social media, it just exploded. And I think this was 3 years back, and we got an order of a roti tawa every 5 minutes on our website. And that is not a cheap product, that's a 2,500 rupees product. And that time we did not have 100k followers, we just had 10k followers, right? So that could give us a sense, right, that how powerful can your community be. So I think for any D2C founder, it becomes really important to maximize the potential of that social media, that community that they have, that power that they have to reach to these people. And I think we have had enough success stories to see, how that content to commerce game is actually working, right? Because you can do sales, you can do a lot of other things on marketplaces or other avenues of sales that you have, right? Quick commerce, but you can't tell a story, right? There, your brand gets built here, and that makes all of your other channels also easy, right? I might know the brand Whole Truth or Vadham or any other brand through their storytelling, even if I buy them from quick commerce or Amazon, right? But that is what helps me buy them from there, not the ads that I see. Right?
I think ek to like content definitely, and being relatable, and also I think the stand and which the brand is taking and the purpose on why the brand exists also is very important, right? Like you guys still started as a social project, and deep down your goal today also is ki, we want to revive this art, we want to grow this art, and we really want to help the artisans, right? And your focus was on quality. So तुम लोगों ने ये नहीं कहा कि मैं एक सस्ता प्रोडक्ट बनाऊंगा, तुम लोगों ने कहा कि मैं एक अच्छा प्रोडक्ट बनाऊंगा अच्छे प्राइस पॉइंट पे, and I will make sure that this art is kind of revived, right? So standing for that purpose and that quality of product, and then obviously communicating it through content and communities also, I think played a big role. So like that mission for that brand from day one, product from day one, I think is something that founders should look at as well.
Super essential. And I think, one key thing that I have learned, right, because it's early days for us as well, is that whatever step we take, right, should always be for a long-term strategical point of view, right? Maybe playing on different things might give you short-term results, but things like storytelling or staying true to the vision or core of the brand, right, are things that set us apart in the long term. Like you brought the aspect of, the social cause that is there. I still remember a lot of people used to tell us in the early days, or let's say some investors sometime back whom we met, they used to tell us that, when they saw our P&L or when they saw the different level of cost, they're like, why are you paying 400 or 500 rupees to artisans, right? When you can get the work done. They were being paid 40. Why are you paying 400? You can pay them 100 rupees, 120 rupees, right? But we're still like, if we pay that, right, it gives us a lot of cost benefit in the short term. But what would have happened alternatively is that these artisans may not have been there for me after 2 or 3 years, right?
Correct.
Because even paying them 100 or 120 rupees would not have sustained them, their lifestyle, their craft form. On the contrary, what has happened, what has worked for us, because we are paying them 400, 500 rupees. Number one, they have become loyal. Number two, a lot of younger generation is coming into the craft form, right?
So increasing the size of the...
Correct. Because a lot of people from the outside are looking at it as a very attractive opportunity, right? For them to not just sustain their craft, but sustain their families as well, sustain their livelihood, right? So we found out that we paid a higher cost at that time, just so that we can now have a huge army of artisans, loyal artisans, and eventually sort of fix our supply side, right?
Yeah,
The
correct.
challenge of scalability on the supply side as well.
Correct.
Because let's say उस समय हम सोच रहे थे यार कम दे देते हैं, but we might not have any artisans to make products, right? At this
Just curious, like what would artisans make, like being associated with P-TAL today? Like when we started, you said like महीने का 2,000 रुपए ऐसे ही कुछ कमाते होंगे. Like what would be that number today?
So from earning 2,000 rupees 3 years back, the average income that these artisans are earning are anywhere between 25,000 to 30,000 rupees a month.
15x
In
impact.
fact, 3 of our artisans earned 1 lakh rupees last month from us.
My God.
So, this
and how many artisans would you be working with right now?
We are roughly working with around 55 to 60 artisans families, right?
So like that number has also grown from 30 when you started to like almost 2x.
30 was the total artisan population in the village.
God. Yeah.
We started with 3 artisans back then, right? And then eventually what happened after COVID as well, a lot of these younger generations, when they lost their jobs, as salesmen or other petty jobs that they had in the village, they started joining their fathers, right? And they could see the potential here. And hence that number of 30 increased and we were able to help all of them as well.
Nice. Yeah, on the supply side, you mentioned obviously like building an army of artisans, right? So, this is very interesting because, like supply is like in a way very limited, right? And obviously you are kind of encouraging more people to come in this space. So how do you kind of maintain quality, like, and that's a big thing for you as well, right? Like, how does that process work? Like, how, like, maybe like talk to us about the entire supply chain. Like, how do you source the product? How do you share the designs with the artisans? How do you make sure that every product is of very, very high quality?
Right. So, what usually happens is that right from the very beginning, right, we have the entire control over the supply chain, right? It just not happens that we source the products or we do contract manufacturing and then we sell it. So right from the very initial point of raw materials, we make sure that we source the right raw materials, we do quality checks, we ensure that, because that is what sets up the base for quality, right? That is the number one marker of quality. So we ensure that we have 100% pure raw material sheets, which we then take to our artisans. Even within this army of artisans, right, we have identified that different artisans are
good at certain,
have a different skill set, right? Because there are a lot of number of artisans across the country, right? If you go to Jaipur, those artisans are good in making puja based stuffs, right?
Is that also a market like that you would look at?
Potentially, yes, maybe in the future. Right now we see that cookware, kitchenware in itself is a big market. So, we have different artisans who are good at making different things. Some artisans are good in making the round shaped utensils, some are good in making the thalis, flat based thalis. So we have handpicked those artisans. We spend a lot of time with them, right? Hence my third co-founder, Gaurav, he extensively looks into supply.
Got it. Right? So like one founder just focusing on that.
Correct, on that aspect. Because, we know if we can sort that aspect out, right, more than half of our job is done, right? Because the number one strategy that you can have for retention in business is ensuring your product is of top quality.
Yes.
Right. Everything else comes later.
So in fact, like retention को हम एक metric के तरह देखते हैं कि यार retention marketing करो, SMS भेजो, WhatsApp भेजो, retarget करो, but वो सब कुछ solve हो जाता है अगर आपका product का quality is always maintained and the customer experience is amazing.
Correct. That's for sure. And that is what we have also noticed that even in our category, especially, it's a high value category. And अगर मैं AOV 5,000 या 6,000 है, it does not mean that every customer is buying of that value. Usually, the consumer behavior is they start with a 1,000 rupees product, which is a ghee pot or a saucepan. Then, once they are satisfied with the quality, the next purchase is usually above 10,000 rupees, which averages it out to 5,000, 6,000.
And I think, but the key also in a consumer brand is that you're actually able to drive trials. Right. Correct. So, retention will automatically happen when you're focusing on a quality of a product and service. But because you're able to drive trials with a good product, that's when people actually and the quality, they like the quality. That's when they shift to a higher value product as well.
Absolutely, and especially in a high value category, people have a lot of high expectations as well, right? If any consumer, right, may it be an Indian consumer or the consumer from the West, they are spending more than 1,000 rupees or 2,000 rupees, you cannot be shoddy at anything. Neither your communication, neither your product, neither the service that you provide them after delivering the product. Right? Hence, we also look at the fact that the real journey of our brand doesn't end after we have delivered a product. It actually starts from
correct, because those people will actually then refer it to their friends and family as well.
And this is a high referral category, like ours, because the average age group as well that usually is our consumer. They love to go on and tell about or show off these utensils or share that something that they could not find, they can actually now find from us. So that helps. But I think on the artisan level, we always ensure that we spend a lot of time with them. We make sure that we, at the end of the day, the sizes, dimensions can differ, right, because it's handmade, but the craftsmanship, the quality should not be shoddy or should not fall short of the minimum expectations that we have, right? Because let's say whatever minimum expectations we have of the product, the consumer will always have 2x of that. हमें लग रहा है कि ये सही बना है, but customer को इससे भी अच्छा चाहिए होगा. So we always make sure that we get to 2x of our minimum expectations.
Correct. And how do you kind of ensure ki like the product is delivered in time to the consumer? Because like this is a product which actually is getting made by artisans. It requires a lot of time and effort on their side. So like, do you like how do you manage your demand as well, right? Like, do you like identify hero products and then उसको पहले से bulk order करके रखते हो, forward deploy करते हो, या फिर वो real time ही based on order होता है?
So Karan, 1 year ago we were facing a lot of issues with regards to this because we are still a very young brand. But eventually what really helped us was the fact that because we used to go out of stock a lot, customers used to get frustrated, right? And with quick commerce coming in, no one has that patience to wait for so long. So now what we have done is that we have cut down a lot of our SKUs. Now we are focusing on some of our top SKUs. We are ensuring that we have a very clear communication with the production team that these are the top 15-20 SKUs that we will also be promoting. We'll be focusing highly on. So just give us that flexibility that we are well stocked in these items, right? So please help us with that. So yeah, I think for now what we have done is that focusing on those key categories, ensuring that we have ample quantities always available with us, roughly 3x of our business as usual, always helps us to make sure that we are able to at least ship to the customer on time. And in most cases we try to use air shipping, right? Even though it comes at a slightly higher cost, but given that our margins allow that flexibility, we want to do that just because at the end of the day experience matters quite a lot if you're building any premium brand.
Correct. No, yeah, super. I think we can continue this conversation on just the business aspect of things for a long time. But I would I would love to also now move on to like your fundraising journey, and in that itself has been very fascinating, right? So like your first round, I think you raised from India's top investors, like obviously Titan, Kunal, Rohit invested, Arjun, many top D2C founders also invested, right? I remember like you started in February 2023, we met in March, and हर time हमारी बात होती थी. I committed to you in my first meeting. We met over Google Meet and then I also came to the store. And जब भी हमारी बात होती थी, round size बढ़ जाता था, right? And you'd say, अच्छा ये भी invest कर रहे हैं, ये भी invest कर रहे हैं, ये भी invest कर रहे हैं. So talk to us from an early stage founder perspective. Like how did you approach your fundraise? Like maybe like you can share some insights if there's a founder who was at a similar scale as you, like 2.5 crore 3 crore का रेवेन्यू कर रहे थे उस वक्त, लाइक कैसे वो स्टार्ट कर सकते हैं अपना राउंड कंपोज करना, कैसे वो किस स्ट्रेटेजिकली कैसे राइट लोगों को लेके आ सकते हैं?
So I feel very fortunate that I could connect with such people, right? And everything fell in the journey that way. So when we started, for us it was very new, right? For any founder who's doing their first fundraise, this seems like very daunting, not just from a perspective that you have to raise these amounts, you have to convince people, help them buy into your vision, but also from a standpoint of a lot of things that come with it, right? You may not be aware of a lot of terms that they might ask,
correct.
Or what terms come in a term sheet. So I remember the first thing that we did was an entire 1 month we did a lot of preparation. We saw a lot of videos, we talked to a lot of other founders, which was very helpful for me.
So ये बहुत interesting है कि like you reach out to community and reach out to founders for help.
For sure. I think still networking is still underplayed, right? It has massive value, right? And that is what helped us raise our round.
और इंडिया का इकोसिस्टम भी ऐसा है कि like people are very helpful. Like in the startup ecosystem, आप किसी को भी reach out करोगे, even if over LinkedIn, over a cold DM, people reply and people want to help, even the bigger founders.
Absolutely, and the thing is, you should know what your ask is and how
Yes.
you have
Be
to
very
reach out to
specific.
that person, right? Because
don't keep it general. Keep want to connect,
correct.
want to network.
Because Karan, I think it must be happening with you as well. Ki every angel investor must be getting hundreds of messages on a daily basis.
Correct.
If you have hit an angel investor, people get to know that someone is an angel investor. They might be getting so many messages daily on their inbox, right? But what is a very key thing that we learned was that you need to study each person very carefully and understand what is their mode of communication, right? Like, let's say for example, most people might have their WhatsApp flooded, or let's say if someone is very big on Instagram, they might have their Instagram DMs flooded.
Correct.
So you must know
मेरा
which
Instagram
channel to
DM
reach
यही
out.
होता है, like people keep telling me कि मेरा ban हो गया, please verify me, like that's the DMs I get.
Correct. So you have to. What I realized most importantly was the fact that when you get and connect with the right kind of people, then everything falls into place, and that's also like a compounding effect, right? For me as well, I did not visualize or imagine that these are the people who will eventually get into my journey, and everything happened by chance, or I got to fortunately fall into those situations, right? Like for example, when I started, I just wanted to do a small round with few angels that I had written down, right? And I wrote down a number of angels on my list, and I thought that I'll go in a manner, right? There were obviously some of them, which I thought would be very difficult, very tough. So I went in a manner where I went that who were the most approachable ones, who could actually help me learn as well, right? It's first better to reach out to them rather than directly reaching out to people who might be very tough for me.
Correct.
So I went in that way. I did not plan on raising from VCs, right? So I think I met Arjun first. He really liked it. I met him at an Inc. 42 event as well. He committed. And then eventually, I went to an event. I got along 2-3 people there. Arjun was there, so he supported me. He promoted us to a lot of folks. And from that event, 5-6 people reached out to me later. And I think even I have had very interesting journeys and communications, right? I think even when we had our first chat, it was just a chat to learn from each other, right?
Correct.
And interest. I did not know it was a fundraising call, etc. Even you might not have come with that perception if you had not known that we were.
I was a customer of the brand and I thought a very interesting brand. Like let's lead.
And I think it was just interesting for us to connect.
Correct.
And I think when that question came up about investment, and then we started talking. And
I did not know you were raising. मैंने पूछा कि अच्छा क्या वैसे like how much have you raised? So you said कि we are in the process of raising a round right now.
Correct. And I think that is something that becomes beautiful as well, right? As connections, because I think a lot of people in the ecosystem don't just look at it from a very transactional point of view, right? Like,
I mean, I think it's conversations are never about exchanging dollars. If you keep it around that, like eventually, like it will become very transactional. Like you sometimes have to believe in the power of serendipity. Ki you just meet people, you are just open to opportunities, you are open to listen, and then you see how things move on.
And I've had such stories in the fundraising journey as well. I remember. Even Deep Bajaj, founder of Sirona, he reached out to me from a DTC group, and he was like, "Ki buddy, I love the brand, I love the products. Can we just catch up at my office?" He didn't know we were raising. I didn't tell him that we are raising. So I went to his office. It was like it was technically going to be no agenda talk, right? But when he was listening to the journey, and then he asked, "Are you guys raising?" And that was actually the time we were raising. And he was very happy to help. He got in his co-founder. He decided to invest, and he then connected me with a lot of other people. So I think one key thing we realized was the fact that the more you meet people, you eventually get something, right? You may not get funds from them, but you will get a lot of connects, learning, etc. right, for your next meeting.
And मेरा तो experience यही रहा है, जब भी तुम advice मांगते हो तो funding मिल जाती है, और जब भी funding मांगते हो तो advice मिलता है.
Absolutely, I love that line. So I think that also happened in our case, that we actually were just in the very learning phase that time, right? So any conversation we had, we never went to pitch people ki give us money. It was more about learning from them, their experiences, and a lot of times I think these big founders that you meet, right? A 5-minute conversation would be much more valuable than a 5 lakh rupees check that they might give you.
Correct.
Right. So I think that played in our situation as well, that a lot of people just came forward from references. They became like our, unsaid brand ambassadors to go out and pitch our deal or to get people for us. And I think I'm so glad, most importantly, that all the investors that are there with us have come up with a value that, you know, they believe in the vision, right? They are not the people who just for growth will ask me to deviate from my core. You know, let's say tomorrow ask me ki sell steel utensils also.
Yeah, 500 रुपए का product बेच दो.
Right?
I mean, like थोड़ा mix कर दो क्या जा रहा है.
I actually did not want such kind of people, and I'm so glad that every single person who's there today with us on the cap table, all of them are very supportive of what we are doing. They understand the vision, they support, advocate that vision as well. And I think for us as well, you know, something that we would like to pass on to other people is the fact that networking actually helps. I think we just went to 2 events, not from a point of view that we'll raise funds, but we'll get to meet people.
कौन से events थे?
And we ended up raising like these funds. So I think one was the Inc 42 event, the Fast 42 event that they do, where they recognized us as one of those 42 fastest growing D2C brands last year. That was a big one for us because we also met Vaibhav Vardhan, the founder of Inc 42 that time, and he actually got us connected to 2-3 unicorn founders, right? And they then got to help us. They connected us with many other people as well. So I think that plays a big role. And even, you know, I feel so grateful for such people is the fact that there was no, you know, we didn't ask them to do this. They did it just to help them because most
that's
of
how
these,
the ecosystem is.
Correct. I think most of these founders, most of the investors, they understand the pain, right? They understand the problems that founders face. So they are more than happy to, you know, just share stories, help people, connect each other. And I think that has been a big learning for us from the fundraise as well.
And from the angels, it then became like a micro VC round, like Titan.
Yeah, I mean, you know, even all of it happened by chance. Even, you know, when I met Titan, I did not know anything about them. I think 10 minutes before the meeting, I was just searching what is Titan Capital, who are the people, etc. And then when I met Rohit and Kunal, and I also laid a very clear vision and a clear idea that we had, that one non-negotiable was that we are very happy to listen to your advices, your ideas. But if you tell us that, you know, you have to sell something else or you have to deviate from your core, then I think we can't be partners. But I'm so happy that they were very supportive. And, you know, most importantly, you know, Karan, one thing that most people don't understand, that it's a long journey, right?
Correct.
Some people come to you and say that they want an exit in 5 years or 4 or 5 years.
Correct.
That's not how consumer brands are especially built.
Actually, they're built over decades.
I think there are just 2 kinds of brands, right? Either brands that die within 5 years or consumer brands that live for more than 20 years. There's nothing in between, right? If you have crossed that 5 or 7 year mark, definitely, you know, you're in the long run, in the long game. And that's what the reply of Kunal, Rohit and these investors also was, that they had invested in Ola in 2011 and they took an exit last year. So they had been there for 10-12 years, right? So they knew. And considering that technically they are also founders, right? So they knew the pain, they knew how long the journey is, and they were the ones who said, you know, focus on profitability more than focusing on scale. So we are fine that you sell less, but you are still profitable, then you sell more and burning your pockets. So that way, I think
super interesting. Like a lot of great takeaways. Like to focus on networking, focus on building meaningful connections. You know, speak to more people, and take advice.
And I think focusing on making sure that you are staying true to your business. You know, I still see a lot of founders, they prioritize funding more than the business, right? And that eventually means that they don't get the funding.
Correct.
If investors sell something, they'll have a separate business model altogether.
अगर तुम एक अच्छा business बनाओगे तो funding is actually an outcome of that.
Correct.
Interesting. And then obviously, you know, I mean, we can come to the Shark Tank journey, right? Like you guys are, you know, like very viral right now, and you know, because of your amazing, you know, all shark deal, you know, at Shark Tank. So, you know, so tell us a little bit about Shark Tank कैसे हुआ, because तुम लोग का round तो raise हो चुका था, right? So why did you guys decide to, you know, apply to Shark Tank? क्या process था? कैसे apply किया, फिर क्या हुआ? Like, just take us through the entire experience.
You know, actually, Karan, we were not even planning to go to Shark Tank. You know,
जैसे हम लोग funding raise, मतलब इतनी बड़ा round नहीं raise कर सकते, इतना बड़ा round हो गया वैसे ही.
It all, you know, all of it came as a signal, right, that this was meant to happen. Because I remember we got a call on 15th or 16th of October right, that we have our Shark Tank audition round on 28th of October.
तुमने कोई apply कर दिया था मतलब वैसे तब भी?
Yeah, we had applied, and I remember we had applied just 1 or 2 days before the deadline.
कब होता है generally?
I think it starts by April, May. I do not recall the exact timeline, but it usually happens during that time. And even we were not aware of, that the forms have started.
और तब तक तुम्हारा round चल ही रहा था, close भी नहीं हुआ था.
And I think there were a lot of things happening with us, right? So we were not sure that what if we are in the middle of the round, it's not closed. What if we are not prepared, because that was also the time when we were looking to scale, right? So we were worried that what if the scale stagnates, right? So more than that, what happened? Our audition round was during the end of October, right?
This is audition in Delhi.
Or this is the final audition in Mumbai in front of the Sharks.
Oh, wow.
Right, and what actually happened, that Diwali was on 11th of November. So our audition round was technically somewhat 2 weeks before Diwali. And Diwali, just like
this category
for,
would have seen a crazy
absolutely
growth.
Right, it's massive for us. That is a time when we literally call in so many people in, like additional people to help us in operations, in warehouse, right? And this audition round requires 2 or 3 days, right? You have to travel to Mumbai, you have to prepare, you have to present there, and technically you don't get to use your phones, etc., right? So we were not worried whether we were ready or not.
Business
but
कैसे चलेगा?
our worry was कि यार धंधा कैसे चलेगा, दिवाली मिस हो जाएगी, right?
Correct.
But how we decided to go was the fact that let's see, maybe we'll get a chance to celebrate another Diwali during February or March when the episode comes out.
Correct. So yeah, your thing was कि यार अगर अभी थोड़ा miss out भी हो रहा है, so like when actually the episode, we'll cover
the
it
episode,
then.
yes. So that is what made us, go for it, and I'm so glad that we eventually decided to go for that experience. Right?
कैसा था like walking into the tank? Like did you guys feel butterflies in your stomach? Like did you feel like DDLJ, SRK, like कैसा feel था like वो?
I mean, had it been the first season, right? I don't think it would have given us so many.
क्योंकि तब पता नहीं था कि क्या है.
Right? So since the fact that we had seen these people, we had seen the entire drama, the song, right? The moment we entered, I still remember it gives you a lot of goosebumps, right? You see those 5 sharks sitting in front of you, and it actually gives you that feeling,
correct,
right, that they are sharks. And that moment is you have the Shark Tank music playing in the background. You enter, and you have so many cameras, flashing at you. And as startup founders, thankfully we get to see 1 camera or 2 cameras whenever we shoot, right? But having so many cameras in such a setup, and given the fact that it's always one take, right? You don't get chances of a retake.
तुम लोगों के साथ हो गया था ना, like तुम्हारे साथ बहुत interesting story हुई थी, like you walked in and something happened. Right?
So when the moment we went in, and जो वो segment है जहाँ पे वो ठक ठक की आवाज start होती है, plays for the initial seconds, when that played, so जो विनीता का glass है, coffee का cup था, that actually fell down and it broke, and it got like it gave a lot of vapors क्योंकि बहुत गर्म coffee थी उसमें. So it like everything was
पीतल ग्लास होता है नहीं टूटता.
So that was the time I told this. तो मैंने वहाँ पे देखते ही पता नहीं instant दिमाग में आया, मैंने बोल दिया पीतल का ग्लास होता है तो नहीं टूटता. But everyone was rushing that time. They had to clean the stuff, and then we again started. So and this time we asked them to shut down the thak thak music. So that interesting thing happened, but I think that also made us comfortable. Because for us, when we were walking again, that made us comfortable that this we have already lived it once. Now we know that we have to just go out there, we have to present our story, and Karan, we do not look at it as a platform that we have to raise funds, like you said, we had already raised funds. For us it was more about we are getting those
story of the brand.
Correct, that we are getting those moments to tell about our story, right?
TV about
and that is actually something that we know the best, right?
Correct.
They are not going to ask me GK questions that who is the prime minister.
They're asking you about your brand.
Correct, they're asking me about our brand, which is something that we live on a daily basis, right? So that for us became just exciting. Like a platform that we are getting a chance to share the story, and what better to do this, because even on Instagram we are storytellers, right? We love to tell stories. So this was a much bigger platform for us. So we looked at it that way, and I think that made it very easy for us.
So कितना raise कर रहे थे, like and
so we went with an ask of 50 lakhs for 1%, but eventually, since all the sharks wanted to come in, we ended up raising 1 crores for 3.2%. So I think technically the money didn't matter, right? Because like you said, we had just raised
You had an
funds.
offer from Vinita which was at a higher valuation, right? So you could have taken that offer.
Right. I mean, a lot of people have asked us this question, right? But what really mattered to us was the fact that, we were, again, the money was not the factor or valuation was not the factor. We actually wanted to look at the value of these sharks, right?
Yeah.
Because that's how we had made we had done our fundraising before as well, right? Like, I think even when we did our seed round with all the amazing angels that we have, our idea always was not to look at the money or the valuation.
It was about the people.
Correct. It was more about the people, right?
And 1% ऊपर नीचे valuation चलेगा as long as you have right people who are partners to build a large business.
Yeah, and that's why, some of the people that have come forward to invest in us, it's literally their second or third investment, right? And we give them that flexibility that it's fine. We are not keeping any minimum cap, right? Even if you want to invest 1 lakh, 2 lakh rupees, it's fine. But we want you guys to be a part of our journey, and that is what matters a lot to us. So it was always about the people, right? And we have realized that more than the money, it's actually the people that make a difference, right? Because I have so far realized a lot of these people who are there with us in our journey, each single one of them has helped us to a great extent, right? We have come across certain decisions in the business where just a small connect or a 5 minutes chat with them has helped us massively. So for us, that moment, when that moment came, right, we were very clear that we actually wanted all 5 sharks.
All 5
Yeah. So when we went inside as well, to do our calculations, etc. It was not much of a calculation, right? We just decided that we actually want all the sharks, right? At any cost.
So you're not differentiating between any of the
sharks.
Correct,
because Karan, if you look at it, let's say Vinita's deal was coming to us at a 38 crores valuation, whereas an all shark was coming to us at a 32 crores. The difference is just of 6 crores, right? And let's say if we were raising 1 CR and if we would have gone at around 38 or 37 crores, we would have still diluted 2.7, 2.8%. Whereas we ended up diluting 3.2%. But we got 4 sharks, right?
Correct.
So at the end of the day, we could see that those 0.3, 0.4% doesn't matter, those 5-6 crore valuation doesn't matter, but the value that these 5 sharks are getting would be much larger. In fact, I don't remember a lot of 1 shark or 2 shark deals from last season, or let's say.
But all shark deals सब याद रखते हैं.
Correct, क्योंकि all shark deals ही कितनी rare होती है, right? So I don't remember कोई भी 1 shark, 2 shark deal जिसकी valuation कितनी थी, right? No one remembers valuation, right? You won't remember the deals that got viral last season or deals that happened this season. No one would remember the valuation, but people would remember, यार इस shark ने invest किया, or this was the story, right? Correct. So technically, after Shark Tank, valuation is not something that makes an impact. It's actually the value that the sharks bring.
So and what do you think really worked, in your favor? Like, obviously, the product is amazing, content is amazing, community is amazing, but you guys are also super smart, right? Like, you were telling me about some of the things that you did to kind of have visibility for the brand, before Shark Tank. So
interestingly, when we got to know about our shooting date, right, on 15th or 16th of October, so we had raised funds, we had closed the funding round 1 or 2 months back, right?
Correct.
And we were not planning to do any PR. We were waiting for an opportunity, or let's say, we were waiting for the Diwali season, etc. to come in. So when we got to know that we have our audition, right, that is when we thought that let's do a PR around it, press release. We had still not made it public that P-TAL has raised funds, right? Only the community knew, the community of startups. So that is the time we thought, let's do a good PR. We talked to our investors, right? We did we discussed this on Saturday, and the PR was out on Monday, right? So we did a PR, and the first thing that Aman told us, right when we entered the tank, was the fact that तुम लोगों ने 1 हफ्ते पहले पैसे उठाए ना, मैंने तुम्हें news में देखा है. So that was the point we were like, कि thankfully this strategy worked, right? I think this happens with a lot of founders when you get to know that, when you get that happiness, that you decided a strategy and it worked. Because out of hundreds of strategies, usually 5 work.
I think it's a great hack, for a lot of founders. You can actually put a lot of PR around the sharks' offices, so that there's recall for your brand.
So we actually wanted that, somehow at least the sharks get to know about P-TAL, even before P-TAL is there, right? So that helped, but coming on other serious terms as well after that, I think apart from the product, the story, one learning that we have from Shark Tank is the fact that you need to be authentic, At the end of the day, they are not looking for the fact that it's always a great business or the numbers are skyrocketing or solid.
Correct.
A lot of deals that you'll see, where the sharks have appreciated have mainly been on 2 parts. One is how clear the founders are, how well they know the business, right? You can't go there and you act like that you don't know the market size or the competitors or your unit economics. They love the fact that you're very clear or you know what your business is. It may be right, it may be wrong, but you at least know what you're building. And second thing is how authentic you are, right? How truthful you are in what you're saying, what you're portraying, right? It can't happen that you're telling them that you save plastic, etc. But on the hindsight, you are actually making a lot of damage to the environment or doing practices which are harmful for the environment, right? So what matters really is that, and they're able to see through, right? I think there are people who have massive experience and most importantly, people experience, right? That they can look through you. So I think that plays a massive part, and that is one learning that we have, and especially, the show is in its third season, right? It's not that you don't have learning, so you can't see, you can't do your research. You're going on national TV, you have 2 seasons already done, right? So you can learn a lot of things from those pitches, what has worked for people, what really matters, and I think that's all.
Being authentic, I think that was, and knowing your business inside out.
Authenticity and awareness, again, that comes into picture.
What did Anupam write on the back of your check?
So very interestingly, when we went back and saw the checks, right, we noticed that Anupam had written for Indian culture and heritage.
Wow.
And that was so heartwarming for us to read, right? That that actually shows, right, that what the investor is banking upon, what it actually means for him as well, right? And when that alignment comes in, right, when you are able to see that, like for me as well, my victory was not when a lot of my investors agreed to give us money. It was when the investors were ready to buy us into that vision, right? They also believed that this can actually become big, or they could see the future, or they could see the impact, and they wanted to be a part of that impact. So I think that was really heartwarming for us to see, and very kind of him to do that.
And how has been the experience post Shark Tank, right? Like a lot of people would say it's difficult to kind of be in touch with the sharks, and like what's been your experience? Have you been in touch with the sharks? Have they been helping?
Right. So right after Shark Tank, in fact, the day we had our pitch, the next day itself, we got messages from Vinita and Amit, and that was also their shoot date. So we got messages from them. That's super excited to be a part of this. Great pitch, looking forward to it, right? And post that as well, right? They approached. Right, I remember I had a conversation with Amit Jain. This was even before the investment papers are signed, right? This is just after the commitment. He set up a 30-minute call. He actually did a research on our sector, right? He came with that research. He had a lot of pointers. He connected on a 30-minute call, and his agenda was not me asking me about how's your business or judging me on metrics, but his only first question was that, let me know how can I help you, right?
My God.
And he had few pointers that I think these are the parts where you can work on. These are the things that will help you. This is what I feel about your sector. These are the connects I can make. And throughout the conversation, he was repeatedly asking, please tell me how can I help you, right? And he had someone on the call as well from his team who was just noting down the minutes, who was making sure that he is able to connect me with the people that Amit is saying, right? So that was very heartwarming for us. After that, Aman also came to our P-TAL store in GK one day.
Oh, nice.
He didn't even tell us. I think he was also randomly strolling, and he came to the store.
He saw the store and he came.
Yeah, he did a round. He came to the store, and I was also not there at that time, right? I was in the office, so I got to know from one of my team members who handles the store. So he made a round of the store. Then he came, saw the store in front of it, and he was like, बहुत बढ़िया लग रहा है, very nice. And he clicked the picture, he sent me, he was like, visited your store, loved it. I was just randomly strolling, so I thought I'll go upstairs and have a look. But great product, great experience at the store. So that was also very heartwarming, right? That how many investors actually come to see your sites or your stores, right?
Correct.
So that was nice of him, right? So a lot of these investors, they have been in touch with their teams. They actually give their time, and at the end of the day, Karan, that's what matters. I think even they have a lot of businesses, they have a lot of investments that they have done, but if they are even able to shell out 30 minutes in a quarter, they can give you learnings that you might take 30 days to learn yourself, right? So that is all what makes a difference, other than just the money that they put in.
No, I think it's really amazing, and like a lot of great learnings for a lot of early stage founders. हमारा एक section है where we do a rapid fire, where essentially we try to know the founder, behind the brand. right? So I'm going to ask you a few questions, like whatever just first comes to your mind, right? So who's your favorite angel investor?
Yeah, don't do this. This is a very लड़ाई हो जाएगी बाहर जाके, but I don't think I can do this, but my favorite angel investors are my parents.
Oh, very
First
cute.
ones to put in the check.
Very cute. Yeah, very cute answer. Like very politically correct and very cute. Favorite Indian founder?
Again, this is tricky, but I would say Ashish Tulsian for me, for what he has built in Process, the kind of values, vision, and the learnings that he has shared. So for sure, for me, he is that person.
What has been your one best learning from Ashish?
It's the fact that you have to stay ahead of the competition, and brands technically are built in long time, right? So he's always like, don't get into the race of growing fast. No one is going to die.
क्यों grow करना है 2x, 3x, 4x, 5x, 1.5x
1.5x grow कर लो, कहीं book में थोड़ी लिखा है कि तुम्हें 2x ही grow करना है, 3x ही grow करना है, right?
Correct.
So I think there are a lot of
very
things
sorted from that perspective.
Very sorted from that perspective, and it's like he opens your eyes, he tells a lot of those things which are on the surface, but you're not able to see it. So I think massively he has left an impact on me.
Great. Favorite homegrown brand from India?
Apart from P-TAL?
Apart from P-TAL.
I think I love the whole truth. I think how Shashank has built
very
it.
similar
It's very
in storytelling.
Inspiring, yeah. And I mean, you can see the impact of the brand, right? Like people have actually started reading labels.
Yeah.
So he has changed consumer mindset. So
Yes.
I love the brand. I love the products.
Yes, amazing. Google Sheet versus IG Grid. Where do you spend more time?
For me, it's the IG grid. Like I love going back to it, checking the followers, likes, etc.
Yeah. MBA versus starting a business.
I think could work for different people. For me, it was definitely starting a business, and also because I could see that instead of putting 20 lakhs there, I should rather put 20 lakhs here, and I get the same amount of learnings as well. So for me, it was different. Also because of the financial security I had with my parents. But for me, any day, I would say starting a business.
Nice. South Campus versus North Campus?
North Campus for sure. I mean, I've spent my life there. So I love it. Love the North Campus definitely. South Campus, I think, is a lot. I think that a lot of people in South Campus would also have the same answer. They love North Campus. Because North Campus actually feels like a campus, right? You have all the colleges nearby.
Together, correct.
And South Campus, all the colleges are very separated. So
favorite Indian street food?
For me, pav bhaji.
Pav bhaji. Nice. Favorite shark?
Again, very tricky.
Very
tricky. I love all of them. Honestly, I love all of them. I don't think I would be able to pick. And hence, if I had a favorite shark, I would have taken a 1-shark deal, not a 5-shark deal.
Yeah, interesting. You're very politically correct. Message to founders who start up in college?
I think would be to always have hope and take that step, right? Because college में ही rejections आते हैं and college के बाद और rejections आते हैं. So I think it's all about having hope and not following the rat race. I mean, everyone just thinks that once they enter the college, I think was for me as well initially, कि they have a fixed path कि अच्छा we'll have consulting or finance. These are the two jobs that will happen. You have
but ये ऐसे paths
to build a
fixed
CV.
नहीं है. Correct.
Right. So and I think they get into that race. They think that that's the only two paths they have, just like engineering or doctor that people had.
And फिर एक comfortness बन जाता है career में.
Correct. Right? They think that this is the actual path that they have seen. Their seniors go on, etc. Right. So even whenever and at the end of the day, there are thousands of things that people do. So students in college have that complexity कि यार ये बच्चा CA का पढ़ाई कर रहा है, this guy is doing MBA, this guy is participating in case competitions, this guy is scoring 10 on 10 in terms of GPA. So they get very nervous, they have that inferiority complex there, building it, because of which they end up doing nothing. Because they want to do everything, because everyone else is doing everything.
Correct.
So I think one thing that I always tell other college folks is that, have that one thing in mind that you want to do, and then shut your noise about everything else. Because technically all those people are as well are doing one thing only. But just because there are many people doing different things, you think like that you're not doing anything.
Correct.
So for sure, staying focused on one part and taking that leap towards that.
Interesting. Pitch your business to us in 60 seconds. Pitch P-TAL to us in 60 seconds.
So P-TAL is a brand where we are trying to revive India's old traditions in a modern manner, starting with the age-old traditions of using brass, copper and bronze utensils, which are Ayurvedic, aesthetic and artisanal, and hence ensure that we are going back to our roots, taking the right choices and are focusing not just on what we are eating, but also how we are cooking and consuming that food, which really plays a role. So P-TAL stands as a brand where we want to ensure that people go for brass for cooking, copper for drinking, and kansa for eating, and bring that healthy lifestyle as well as Indian traditions to their lifestyle.
Amazing. How do you unwind? How do you switch off?
I think for me, I really love working out whenever I get a chance. I go to do boxing. I like to run. Running gives a lot of peace of mind. It helps me clear my thoughts. So yeah, for me, it's that is something that really helps me balance out.
Your one last message to any early stage founder?
I think again, it will be very similar to always staying strong in front of rejections, because I have been a strong believer of the fact that there are always thousands of rejections that happen, but every rejection is like a redirection, right? So when things are actually falling, they actually fall into place. So one has to keep going. If they get rejected from something good, they're actually getting redirected to something better. And that is something that we have always learned. That is a culture of our company as well, right? That we have to stay positive despite of rejections, because you cannot avoid rejections. A lot of times it's not in your hands, but you can definitely control how you are facing those rejections and how you are building up from that. So for sure, to all the founders that are out there, one must always have hope, stand strong in front of rejections, and always believe that it's not the end of the world.
Very, very important message. And like I feel that in our college, whenever we're studying, when we're growing up as well, हमें ना ये बहुत सिखाते हैं कि like how are you successful, right? Like कितने marks लाने हैं, ऐसे job करना है, ऐसे placement करना है, but nobody kind of teaches you how to deal with failure and how to deal with rejections, right? So I think nothing teaches you better about failure and rejection than being a founder, right? And staying measured in the face of it, staying balanced in the face of it, I think is very, very important. Like every failure, every rejection is a redirection, right? So like you learn from it and then you keep moving and you keep building. Very important message. Thank you, Aditya, for your time. I can't let you go, without a small feedback on Accelerate. What do you think about a cohort? Like what do you think, how we can help companies and founders, really grow?
I think, Karan, you guys are doing an absolutely amazing job with this initiative. And I think when I also came to know about it, I was so fascinated by it. And I was like, this is actually something that a lot of people need out there, right? Like I'm still early in my journey, but I watch all the episodes of Accelerate, right? And it means so much to me that you invited me here to be a part of the Accelerate panel. And so I think it's a brilliant initiative. And the fact that with Accelerate, you are trying to tell those stories which often do not come out, or give access to a lot of things in the ecosystem to the viewers, is absolutely amazing. Because I think number one fear that all of us had, or number one thing that we used to think that we lack, is access in the ecosystem, right? So I think Accelerate as a platform will definitely provide that access to people. And the only thing that I would say is that the more we try to make such content, be consistent with it, or reach out to as many founders across different stages, it's going to be super helpful. Because I think the fact that you also brought us in shows that you're not just limiting the podcast or the program to the top level founders or people who have already made it big, but also people who are in this journey. Because I have personally learned a lot, not just from unicorn founders, but let's say founders who are just above in my journey, or who have raised more than multiple rounds, who are at a 3x, 4x of my revenue. So I think they have also been able to share a lot of those learnings, and I think this becomes that inclusive platform, and I hope it goes on to remain the same.
Great, awesome. Thank you so much again. One last parting message from our side. Like if you're building the next big consumer business or e-commerce business from India, you're building the next big brand from India, do apply to the Accelerate 100-day program, do apply to our cohort. We can't wait to be a part of your journey, and we can't really wait to help you scale. Thank you so much, Aditya, for being a part of the Founder Academy.
Thank you, Karan. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.